Now you mentioned that underneath this airport, it goes down many levels.
Yes.
Does the fact that all these underground levels are there have something to do with why it took so long for this airport to open?
Well, the gentleman that I was dealing with, Phil Schneider, said that during the last year of construction, they were connecting the underground airport system to the deep underground base. He told me that there was at least an 8-level deep underground base there, and that there was a 4.5 square mile underground city and an 88.5 square mile base underneath the airport. It is very unusual that they would allot a 50 square mile area on the surface at which to locate an airport in the middle of nowhere, unless they really plan to use it for something very unusual later. There is a 10-mile, 4-lane highway out to this airport, and there is nothing out there in between the airport and Denver. Not even a service station, at least in September 1995. The people in Denver are really upset with the fact that this airport went in the way it did. There was this fellow who wrote a book in which he made the statement that they had a copy of an audio tape on which a Denver city official was talking with people from the Civil Intelligence Agency, and that he was paid $1.5 million to allow the airport to be built, no matter what it took. It appears that there was a lot more interest in getting the airport built from just officials in the Denver area. They plan on using this facility for something else other than just landing planes.
So, this guy got you down there to take a look at the underground?
Well, he was invited to go along on the trip. I had a friend that actually got us down into the active area in the underground. It's very interesting down there. The baggage equipment area is very unusual. All the old luggage equipment that wouldn't work right doesn't look much different than the stuff that is working today.
You were telling me that there are huge concrete corridors with sprinklers all along the ceiling. What are these sprinkler heads doing in a concrete bunker, pray tell?
Well, this is the same question we asked. These shafts are huge and run along adjacent to the tram line on both sides. So, there are 2 of these huge shafts, large enough to fit a 2-lane highway in there. There are very few openings into and out of the tram shaft, but at the end of them, going out into this 50 square miles of acreage, is a huge steel door that would facilitate the entrance of a great big truck. It could be used for almost anything, but what is so unusual about it is that about every 5 or 6 feet on the ceiling, across almost the full width of the area, there is a pipe with 3 or 4 sprinkler heads. This goes on for the full length of the thing, which must be close to a mile. There are 2 of these shafts, and I got a picture in the mail the other day, which was very unusual. That was taken by someone on board the tram in the shaft. The picture appeared to actually show ghost-like figures on it. It was a mother and a baby wrapped in a blanket. When you were down in that concrete shaft, both times I got nauseated. Now, the tunnel shaft that the tram comes in on could connect up with an underground tunnel coming in from 5 buildings that were built and buried. There was already a 40-foot diameter tunnel there when construction started. Those 5 buildings they built 3.5 years ago, and suddenly they said, "Oops, these are in the wrong place," and buried them, along with a very high-tech runway that is buried under about 4 inches of dirt. It seems insane that they would build a very technical building complex with interlocking tunnels, and a tunnel going back to the tram tunnel at the concourse, and then state that they built it in the wrong place and cover it up with dirt. I don't believe that people are that stupid.
No. Projects like that are strategically planned, and they just don't go and do that.
Some of these 5 buildings are 150 feet tall. There is one 78 feet tall, and one that is 126 feet tall. They are all in that range. From this complex there is a shaft that runs to Concourse C. When they started this project, as I said, there was also a huge 40-foot diameter shaft brought in there from somewhere that was off limits to the work crews. It was there when the project was started. And everybody that worked on these projects, there were 5 different contractors, and the people on each contracted crew did not interact with the other ones. When the project was done, everyone was fired and sent away.
You would think that during this massive construction, they would not be able to keep this stuff secret.
I think a lot of the people saw things that disturbed them so much that they would not talk about it. I know several people who worked on the project that managed to find their way down into the depths, probably close to the deep underground base, and saw things that scared them so badly they won't talk about it. I interviewed a few of the former employees on these construction crews that worked out there on these buildings that ended up buried, and they are afraid to talk. They say that everybody is real nervous about it, and they decided to tell some of the secrets that they knew, but they don't want anybody to know who they are. So, I can tell you that it is a very unusual and spooky type of place, and if you are a sensitive person, you get nauseated as soon as you enter the perimeter of the airport. Especially when you go down underground. You become very nauseated and nervous. There is also so much electromagnetic flux in the area that if you get out on the open ground around the airport, you will buzz.
Where is this flux field coming from? What do you think the purpose of this is?
I think that it's coming from some kind of underground electrical system, because where we were, there were no power lines, and the whole place was just buzzing with this free energy floating around. Very unusual. In addition, there are areas in the underground that have chain link fences with the barbed wire tops pointed inward, like they were there to keep people in, not keep people out. All these areas are there, acres of it, and none of it is in active use. There are many terraced areas that go down. One area in particular is forbidden to go into unless you are wearing a biological protective suit. They say there is some kind of unidentified biological fungus in that area that attacks people's lungs.
Some kind of way to hide something that is in this area.
Well, we think that area is one that leads to deeper levels underground at the airport. But it is surrounded by a chain link fence, and you can't get in there. We think this is the area that one of the electricians kind of stumbled into, that went down about 6 levels below the 4th level, and ran into some really weird stuff. He won't talk about any of it now.
Real weird stuff.
Also, at the airport, there are what look like miniature nuclear reactor cooling towers, and I don't understand why they are there. When people asked, the reply is that they are part of the ventilation and exhaust system. Ventilation and exhaust from where?
What do you think it's for?
I think it is all hooked up to the deep underground.